Here's a detailed story on Alexander's eastern conquests and the road to India, focusing on Alexander's journey into the eastern territories, his encounters with new cultures, the challenges he faced, and his ultimate arrival in India. This narrative highlights his ambition, adaptability, and the lasting impact of his eastern campaigns. Alexander's eastern conquests and the road to India. After conquering the Persian Empire, Alexander the Great turned his attention eastward, driven by an insatiable ambition to explore the lands beyond Persia and reach the edge of the known world. His journey into the eastern territories, through the rugged lands of Bactria, Sogdiana, and ultimately into India, was marked by fierce resistance, cultural encounters, and some of his most challenging battles. This is the story of Alexander's eastern conquests and the road to India, a journey that tested his leadership, his army's loyalty, and the limits of his empire. Chapter 1. The Call of the East, a New Frontier Beyond Persia. With the Persian Empire under his control, Alexander's ambitions continued to grow. He had reached Babylon, Persepolis, and Susa, the great capitals of Persia, and had been hailed as the King of Kings. Yet, even with his vast conquests, Alexander was not content. Inspired by stories of lands and riches beyond Persia, he set his sights on the regions east of the Persian Empire, particularly the lands of Bactria, Sogdiana, and the Indus Valley in India. Alexander's desire to push eastward was fueled not only by a thirst for conquest but by curiosity and a vision of uniting the cultures of East and West. To secure his empire's borders, he would need to conquer the eastern provinces, a task that would take years and lead him into territories even his Macedonian soldiers had never imagined. Chapter 2. Conquering Bactria, the Land of Fortresses. The first stage of Alexander's eastern campaign brought him to Bactria, a region located in modern-day Afghanistan. Bactria was a land of mountainous terrain and fortresses, where local tribes fiercely resisted his invasion. Unlike the open plains of Persia, Bactria presented challenges of rugged landscapes, cold winters, and unpredictable guerrilla warfare. Alexander adapted to these conditions, dividing his forces into smaller units capable of maneuvering through the narrow passes and rocky terrain. He employed a strategy of building fortified outposts and securing supply lines, allowing him to gradually subdue the region. Alexander also relied on psychological tactics, offering clemency to cities that surrendered and showing his willingness to integrate local leaders into his administration. One of Alexander's significant achievements in Bactria was his marriage to Roxana, the daughter of a powerful Bactrian noble. This union was both a personal and political alliance, helping him gain the support of the Bactrian nobility. By marrying a local noblewoman, Alexander demonstrated his commitment to blending Greek and Eastern cultures, a policy that would characterize his approach in the years to come. Chapter 3. The Sogdian Campaign, Resistance and Rebellion. From Bactria, Alexander advanced into Sogdiana, where he encountered even fiercer resistance. The Sogdians, led by local chieftains and supported by nomadic tribes, used their knowledge of the terrain to launch hit-and-run attacks on Alexander's forces. The rocky mountains and desert plains of Sogdiana were ideal for guerrilla warfare, making it difficult for Alexander's troops to secure the region. One of the most challenging encounters in Sogdiana was the siege of the Sogdian Rock, a fortress perched atop a steep cliff. The defenders, confident in the fortress's natural defenses, taunted Alexander, saying he would need soldiers with wings to capture it. Alexander took up the challenge, ordering his best climbers to scale the cliff under the cover of night. By morning, his soldiers had reached the summit, and the fortress surrendered in awe of his determination and resourcefulness. Alexander's victory at the Sogdian Rock symbolized his resolve to conquer every corner of his expanding empire. Yet, the continuous fighting and harsh conditions strained his relationship with his men, many of whom were growing weary of the endless campaign. Chapter 4. Entering India, Crossing the Hindu Kush. After securing Bactria and Sogdiana, Alexander turned his gaze toward India, an enigmatic land of riches and mystique. In 327 BCE, he led his army across the formidable Hindu Kush Mountains, a grueling journey that tested the endurance of his troops. The mountainous terrain, freezing temperatures, and scarcity of resources took a heavy toll on his soldiers and animals. As Alexander descended into the Indus Valley, he encountered a new world with unfamiliar customs, religions, and political structures. The local rulers were wary of the Macedonian king, and some joined forces to resist his advance, while others sought alliances. Alexander's entry into India marked the beginning of his campaign against powerful local kings, each with armies that included war elephants, an intimidating sight for the Macedonian soldiers. Chapter 5. The Battle of the Aornos Rock, a Feat of Persistence. One of Alexander's first significant engagements in India was the siege of the Aornos Rock, a massive fortress situated on a steep mountain along the Indus River. This fortress held strategic importance, and its defenders believed it to be impenetrable. However, Alexander's resolve was unbreakable, and he was determined to capture it. Using siege engines and skilled climbers, Alexander's forces scaled the cliffs and launched a fierce assault. After days of intense fighting, they overcame the defenders, capturing the fortress. The fall of the Aornos Rock sent a powerful message to the local rulers. Alexander's determination and tactical skills could overcome any obstacle, no matter how formidable. Chapter 6. The Battle of Hydaspes, facing King Porus. In 326 BCE, Alexander's forces reached the Hydaspes River, where he faced King Porus, one of the most powerful rulers of the region. Porus had assembled an army that included thousands of infantry, cavalry, and, most notably, war elephants. The sight of these elephants was both awe-inspiring and terrifying for the Macedonian soldiers, who had never faced such beasts in battle. To secure victory, Alexander used his strategic genius to turn the river to his advantage. Under the cover of a stormy night, he led part of his army across the river, surprising Porus's forces at dawn. In the ensuing battle, Alexander's cavalry outflanked Porus's troops, targeting the elephants and isolating the Indian infantry. The battle was fierce, with heavy casualties on both sides, but Alexander's tactics ultimately secured a hard-fought victory. Impressed by Porus's courage and skill, Alexander allowed him to retain his kingdom as a vassal, a rare show of respect for a defeated enemy. Porus's continued rule under Alexander's oversight helped stabilize the region and provided Alexander with a trusted ally in India. Chapter 7. The Limits of Expansion, the Army's Refusal. After his victory at Hydaspes, Alexander hoped to push further eastward, exploring more of India's riches and territories. However, after years of continuous campaigning, his soldiers were exhausted. They had marched thousands of miles through unfamiliar lands, facing harsh conditions and fierce resistance. Now, as Alexander spoke of advancing toward the Ganges River, his troops refused. The refusal of his army marked a turning point in Alexander's campaign. Realizing that he could not move forward without the support of his men, Alexander reluctantly agreed to turn back. He led his troops south along the Indus River, preparing for a return to Persia. Though disappointed, Alexander respected his men's loyalty and honored their desire to go home. Chapter 8. The Difficult Journey Back, the Gadrosian Desert. The return journey was as grueling as the campaign itself. Alexander led his troops through the Gadrosian Desert, a harsh and unforgiving landscape where intense heat, lack of water, and sandstorms claimed the lives of many soldiers and animals. The desert crossing tested the limits of endurance, and Alexander's leadership and resilience were crucial in keeping his army intact. By the time they emerged from the desert and returned to the Persian heartland, Alexander's army was greatly diminished. However, those who survived had an unwavering loyalty to their king, forged through years of hardship and shared victories. Chapter 9. The Legacy of Alexander's Eastern Conquests. Alexander's Eastern conquests left a profound impact on the regions he passed through. His journey to India brought Greek culture, language, and ideas to the East, establishing the foundations of the Hellenistic world. In the cities he founded, such as Alexandria in the Caucasus, Greek and local cultures blended, creating a legacy of cultural exchange that would endure long after his death. Although Alexander's dream of reaching the edge of the world was left unfinished, his eastern campaigns expanded the horizons of the ancient world. They fostered trade, diplomacy, and intellectual exchange, bridging East and West in ways that would influence generations to come. Conclusion: a dream unfulfilled but a legacy enduring. Alexander's road to India marked the peak of his ambition and the limits of his empire. Though his soldiers' refusal to continue cut short his dreams of exploring further, his Eastern conquests cemented his reputation as one of history's greatest leaders. The blend of Greek and Eastern cultures that emerged from his campaigns laid the foundations for the Hellenistic Age, an era marked by innovation, learning, and intercultural exchange. Alexander's journey eastward was more than a military conquest. It was a quest for knowledge, connection, and unity, though his empire would frag.